In this video, we are going to discuss installing the local agent into Ubuntu Desktop 22.04. You can follow along using our user manual. This is starting at section 6.3. The first thing we will need to do is we will need to download the Linux installer and move that to our Ubuntu. After we do that, we will have to grant the installer execution rights, so we can right-click on the installer, go to Properties, and go over to Permissions, and go ahead and enable Allow Executing File as a Program. Now, the installer does require root access to run some commands during the installation process, so we will want to edit the sudoers file. So to do that, we will want to open up a terminal, and we will type sudo nano etc sudoers. That should prompt us for our password, which we can enter, and then that will open up the sudoers file. We go all the way to the bottom. We will need to add the following command in. You will want to replace Mike with your username. Once that's complete, we can go ahead and save, exit nano. Now, the next couple things are optional and depend on your Ubuntu distro. The first optional requirement is to install libfuse2. So there are some distros that have Fuse 3 in them, and that doesn't work by default. So we use libfuse2. So I'll show you how to install that. The first thing we'll do is we will add the repository. And we'll hit enter. After we've added the repository, we can go ahead and install libfuse2. It is already installed on my machine. The next repository is optional, but we do recommend it, and this is the NetTools repository. So from the terminal, we'll say sudo apt-get install net-tools. Again, it has already been installed on my machine. From here, we can start the installer from the terminal. So we'll, in my case, I will go to the desktop, and I can execute the installer. Enter. This should start the installer file for me, and it will look like this. We can go ahead and click Start. This will run through some prerequisite checks. Once that has completed and the checks are fulfilled, we'll go ahead and hit Next, because we will set it up in the cloud. Now, we are using Azure IoT, so there is no need to configure the network because it runs natively in Linux. So when we're setting it up in the cloud, we can go ahead and click on the link provided. That should open up a browser to allow us to log into Environet Connect. So we'll go ahead and enter our username and password. All right, so this brings us to our new local agent menu. If you're an MSP, you'll select the organization that you're installing it for. You will give it a name that you are familiar with. You'll verify that this code matches, which is over here. These codes are good for 15 minutes. Then you'll go ahead and select Save. Once that's successful, we should see the installation begin over on the agent. Now, this process can take 10 to 15 minutes to begin. We will let it complete and wait for the confirmation. Once we receive the confirmation that it has completed, it can take 5 to 10 minutes to sync up with the cloud, and become active. So we will go ahead and click done, and we will wait for that process. And once it's complete, we can begin scanning for devices.